first things first is I'm a realist. And in this video today, I want to talk to you about how this small change in my brain 10x my life and help me to make millions, and how this same small change in your brain could do the same for you. It could 10x your life and scale your business to heights you literally haven't even begun to imagine yet. Once you begin to understand these 3 points, just 3, that I'm about to go over with you, you will be able to bring the future into the present, thus changing your reality to the reality that you actually desire and want to live. As a matter of fact, let me ask you a question. What is it that you actually desire for your life? Have you ever even asked yourself that question? What is it that you desire for your business? What is it that you desire for your family? What is it that you desire for your financial situations? What is it that you desire, period? Because once you get these 3 points, your desires will start to become a reality. So let me start by giving you point 1. Point 1, you see with your brain and not with your eyes. Let me say it again. You see with your brain and not with your eyes. Most people think that we see with our eyes, and very little people understand that we see with our brains. There's a quote, I think, that William Shakespeare wrote, right? And he said, the eyes sees all, but the mind shows us what we want to see. The eyes see everything, but it's the mind who shows us. It's the mind who shows us. It's the mind who shows us what it is that we see. The only thing your eyes do is gather information. Your eyes are information gatherers, meaning the only job they do is actually gather information. And they gather information from what? Light. Do you actually really know how you see? You see because light hits your eye. It is then tunneled down to the back of your eye to a small piece of tissue called the retina. And the retina turns that light information into an electrical pulse, and that electrical pulse is then shot to the brain, and the brain interprets the information that was given to it by the light coming in to the eyes. That's how you see. Your eyes are nothing but information gatherers. They just gather information from the light. That's all your eyes do. They don't see. Your brain sees. I don't know if you know this or not, but people who are born blind often have a nuance or a super sense of hearing, and they can extract more information from sound. What your eyes pull from light, their ears pull from sound. And these people can extract more from sound than people can with sight. Their hearing is much stronger than people who actually could see, because their primary reason or their primary ability to see comes from their sound. Sound provides their brain with the information, much in a way that light provides our brain with the information to see with our eyes. So in other words, they can see with their brain. They can see a picture or form a picture in their mind's eye using sound, just like you form a picture in your mind's eye using light. See, we think that because the eyes can't see, that the brain ain't watching. Let me say it again. We think that because the eyes cannot see, that the brain ain't watching. What I'm actually saying in simple terms is that blind people could see. They see with sound. They see with sound. I don't know if you ever heard of a term called human echolocator, right? This term was kind of invented it was kind of like a scientific term, I think in the 1940s. It was a term invented by scientists that was used basically to describe how bats would be able to navigate through life using sound. They will be able to navigate their environment using sound. They'll be able to catch their prey, what they saw using sound, right? And scientists originally thought that this type of ability to where you can be able to form sight using sound was only reserved for creatures like bats. But they quickly found out it wasn't only reserved for creatures like bats. This was a skill also reserved for human beings. Echolocators, people who are blind, who are ecolocators, you can go look this up. They can do almost everything that those who can see do. Let me say it again. Ecolocators, people who are blind, that cannot see out of their eyes, but use sound to form pictures, can do anything you can do who can see. They can play basketball. Yes, they can dribble the ball, shoot the ball, go rebound. They can mountain bike. They can ride a bird scooter through the city. They can go hiking, whatever it is. Whatever you can do, they can do too, because they use sound to see. As a matter of fact, these people are actually challenging scientists to even reconsider what it even actually means to be blind. If you are blind, you can literally take a 10-week course, to begin to learn how to become an echolocator so that you can turn sound into vision. So again, let me say it. You see with your brain, not your eyes. The part of the brain that interprets vision, I don't know if you know this, is the visual cortex. The part of the brain that controls vision, I think is your visual cortex. So if your visual cortex, just to hone this point in even more, if you damage your visual cortex, it don't matter if your eyes can see. If the brain cannot form a picture or tell the eyes what it is seeing, you will not be able to see. It doesn't matter if your eyes can see. If you're able to see with your eyes, but your brain don't see. And when the brain don't see, because the visual cortex can't see, which is how you see in your brain, if that cannot see, you can't see. So again, let me say it. You see with your brain, not your eyes. I remember the first time I really understood this, right? I was watching the show. I don't know what show it was. I was watching the show with my wife and my daughter. And I noticed that we were all watching the same thing. It was a certain event. And I forgot what it was. But I know we was all watching the same event unfold. The same picture, the same 30 seconds, however long the clip was. We was watching the same part of the same show. But yet, we all saw something different. We all saw something different. She saw something different than I saw. I saw something different than she saw. My wife saw something different than both of us saw. But we all saw something different, even though we were all watching the same exact show, watching the exact same moment, watching the same exact event unfold. But yet, we all saw something different. Have you ever, or even you, have you ever been in a room or been in a meeting where there's 20, 30 people in a meeting and this one person is speaking, and then after this one person is speaking, and then you go out and you start talking to people and you explain what you saw, and then you begin to realize that everyone saw something different, that a lot of other people saw something different, even though y'all was in the same room, listening to the same thing, watching the same thing, but yet you'll both come up with something different. It's because you don't see with the eyes. You see with the brain. I want you to do me a favor. Close your eyes. I need you to think back with your eyes closed, but you can only do this with your eyes closed. Excuse me. I need you to think back to a time in your past where you felt your happiest. What were you doing? Who were you with? Where were you at? You know, while I'm thinking about this, I also want you to think about this. I want you to think about McDonald's for a second. Think about Mickey D's. I need you to think about Mickey D's. Can you see McDonald's logo? My point proven. You see with the brain. Your eyes was closed. I mean, if you did this exercise with me, then your eyes was closed like this. But yet you still could see McDonald's logo. Again, it's because you see with the brain and not with the eyes. And because you see and now that you understand that you see with the brain and not with the eyes, it brings me to point number 2. And point number 2 is it's what your brain sees that creates your reality. Back to the quote that I talked to you about a few minutes ago, about that quote that William Shakespeare wrote. He said, "The eyes see all, but the mind shows us." What does the mind shows? What does the mind show us? The mind shows us what we want to see. The eyes take in the information, but it's the mind, it's the brain that tells us what we see. What your brain sees interprets your reality. What do you mean, Donnie? Let me explain it to you. Have you ever been mad at somebody? Have you ever conjured up a thought of somebody in your head? Have you ever been mad at somebody and you thought that they did something so terrible and so wrong to you, and you begin to rehearse thought after thought, like, I can't believe this person did this. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe they would go that far. I can't believe. And then these thoughts cause you to form and see other thoughts. It causes you to see how bad they treated you. So now you're forming all these pictures and all these images in your head of everything and how wrong everything is going and how wrong they did you. And then they pop up and begin to explain to you the situation, and you found out that you were completely wrong? Or have you ever been around somebody that all they do is constantly complain? They complain about everything. Like everything could, 100 things could have gone right, and one thing goes wrong. They didn't see all the 100 things that went right. The only thing they talk about is the one thing that went wrong. They complain about everything. These people are miserable. Everything in life, because their brain sees life from a negative filter. So everything that happens to them, they see it as almost as a way to dramatize it or something, or to talk about it because they feel like it's going to happen, because that's all that they see. Or have you ever been around somebody that is constantly playing the victim? Have you ever been around a person that has a victim mindset? I don't know whether they got that victim mindset for something that happened to them in the past, some traumatic event, and they just never let that victim mind set go. They just never, their brains just sees them as the victim. It don't matter what happens. It don't matter what goes down. It don't matter if it's their fault. They're the victim in every situation. The world's against them. And I'm telling you right now, if you have a victim mindset in business, you're never going to be able to get far at all. Because if you're not able to take responsibility for your actions, the event might happen. The thing that happened to you, you might have been a victim and that situation was out of your control. But how you have determined to move forward is in your control. So if you still are a victim because you believe that life dealt you these cards, and that's all life has to offer, and you continue to remain a victim of your circumstance, you're not going to grow in any area of life, especially business. The brain sees. And if it sees you as a victim, it's never going to allow you to be anything other than a victim. If your brain sees you as not good enough, then it's what you will be. If your brain sees you as sick, then that's what you're going to be. If your brain sees you as unworthy, then that's what you're going to be. If your brain sees you as outclassed, if your brain sees you as a loser, if your brain sees you as not being smart enough, if your brain sees you as being inadequate, if your brain sees you as mediocre, you're only going to ever be those things. This is because the brain will always act according to the things that it sees. Let me say it again. The brain will always react according to what it sees. That means if you don't see yourself good enough, you're never going to act good enough. You're never going to feel like anything's good enough. You're never going to feel like your product's good enough. You're not going to feel like your service is good enough. You're not going to feel like anything you do is going to ever be good enough, because your good enough does not just translate to only you. It translates to everything in your life. So when you think you're not good enough, everything you do will not be good enough, because that's the filter you have allowed your life to be placed under. Remember, if the brain sees you, not your eyes, you could be doing bad physically. But if, like I was in the beginning of my teenage years, I was in poverty. Life sucked. But I never saw that. I began to see, my brain saw something different. So if you don't begin to see, if you don't think you're good enough, you're never going to be good enough. If you don't think you're worthy, then no matter what you do, you're never going to feel worthy. If you don't see yourself as great, it will affect everything in your life. I remember when I started back in sales in 2007, right? And I started in sales at this car dealership. I worked for a Toyota dealership. And I used to, when I first started there, I used to watch how I would be amazed by these top tier salespeople and how they would talk, how charismatic they was, how their facial cues, how they knew how to handle the customer. I was just so amazed about how they handled the whole entire process, just period. Like they were just dope. Like, and I remember always thinking to myself, man, I'm never gonna be like those guys. Those guys are like I don't even know how they got there. I'm like, never gonna be like them. Like, man, because I would talk to a customer and then I would have them come talk to the same customer I was talking to, but they kept saying no to me. But one of these top tier salesperson would come along. He'll say a few words, gee, laugh, say a few other words, and then within 3 to 5 minutes, they're closed. And I couldn't even get them to say yes. They would only say no to me. So I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I'm never going to be good as these guys. And one day, I don't know how I came about this book, but I started reading this book called Mindset, right? And I think it was by an author by the name of Carol Dweck, Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck. It's called Mindset. And in this book, she explains that there are two types of way of thinking. There's two types of mindsets that shape how people view their potential and deal with challenges. She explains that a fixed mindset person will think that their abilities and intelligence are set in stone, right? She explains how these people believe they either have it, that you're either born with it or you're not born with it. And let me be honest with you. That's what I thought. I thought these people were born. I thought these people were born to talk like they talked. I thought these people were born with the charismatic and how they move and their facial cues. I thought they were born with it. And I thought this way until I began to read this book even further. And then she began to talk even further about how fixed mindset people acted. I know that most fixed mindset people, they avoid challenges. If it's hard, they always say if it's hard to them, then they believe it's not for them. So then they just quit easily. They quit everything easy. They say this isn't my thing and I'm out because they feel it's too hard. They don't take feedback because they take everything personally. Every point of feedback hurts them. And they think like, oh, I'm gonna suck. Like they don't take feedback. They don't take feedback as a means to help them to get better. But those with a growth mindset see everything as a work in progress. They know that if they don't currently have the skills, that they can go and learn the skills. If they don't currently have the talent to do something, they can go and learn the talent. If they don't currently have the knowledge, then they're not stuck at the current knowledge that they only have. They can go and get the knowledge. See, a growth mindset person seeks out challenges. They seek out things that are hard because they know that they don't know it yet because they haven't learned it. And fixed mindset people understand that setback happens. It's all a part of the game. They don't get crapped out about it. And it's not like fixed mindset people who hate feedback because they take everything personal. Growth mindset people love feedback because they always want to adapt, change, and grow and get better so they can level up, right? Progress is progress to them. Even if it is slow, they understand that they're getting better. And then for some of us, we think we can just wake up, voila, and boom, we're super good at something. No. When learning something new, when learning a new skill, it takes time. And you're only bad at it right now, it's because you don't know how to do it. That's it. But if you continue to do something long enough, you eventually get good at it. Let me ask you a question. When you were working on your job, were you very good at your job at first? But the longer you worked there, every day that you went there, the more you learned, the more repetition that took place. Now you probably do your job without any conscious effort. But at first you didn't. At first it was hard. It's always hard. Then it's easy. It's easy because you always get better. Don't have a fixed mindset that says that things are the way they are and nothing could get better. If I would have thought that when I did think that until I read that book. And after reading that book, and I understood what a growth mindset was, I went to work the next day. I started studying these people. I started studying all the top tier people. And as I studied them, I studied their moves, I studied their charisma, and then I would have objections for customers and I would go ask them, hey, so and so, or Doc, how would you overcome this objection? This customer said this and this and this and this and that to me. How would you overcome that? And they would tell me, and I couldn't wait till a customer told me that same objection again so I can go hit them with the rebuttal that I had in my arsenal. And I did this over and over and over and over. My whole goal was never to get caught or get hit with the same objection twice and not know how to overcome it. And as I did that, and as I continue to study these people and continue to read and to continue to get all and continue to advance my closing skills through going to seminars and listening and reading sales books and doing all these things that it takes to grow, right? And 1 year later, these people who I thought I could never be good as, I ended up becoming their manager and their closer. And so this is where I earned the name, the closer's closer, because I would go behind the people who I looked up to. Was like, man, I'll never be as good as these people because that's what my brain saw. But when I read that book, my brain was able to see something different. And because my brain was able to see something different, I was able to level up and go beyond those people who I thought were way better than me or I could never even become like. But what was it that helped me to see the difference? It was new information. And that brings me to my last point. Point number 3. New information is the only way the brain can see something different in order to create a new reality. Let me say it again. New information. If it wasn't for the new information that I got from reading that book that says my current skill set don't have to remain the same skill set that it currently is, but that I can increase my skill set by actually doing the work, by actually studying, by actually reading things, by actually going to seminars, by actually studying the people and their greatness and their weaknesses. New information is the only way the brain could see something different. The brain can't see anything different than the information that it currently holds. Your brain sees what it sees because of the information that you currently have in it. If the information that you currently hold of rich people is that rich people are evil, you're always going to think rich people are evil. I mean, that's what was taught to me until I started hanging around rich people and became one. I understood that was a myth. That's false. But we taught that growing up throughout our life. We watched superhero movies. Who the villain is always or some rich guy. Why does the villain got to be a rich guy? And the superheroes always some poverty-stricken kid or person. What y'all gonna say other than Batman? But Batman was a douche, right? He was rich, but he was a douche. So either they paint him out to be evil or they paint him out to be complete douches. But I can tell you, I got a lot of rich friends, and most of them I know, they ain't evil. And I know I ain't evil. But until your brain's able to see something different, you're always going to think that. You can only see what you see because you only know what you know right now. The current information you have at hand is what created your current reality. Yes. You don't think so? Well, let me ask you this. When you first started working a job, when you took your first job, how much did that first job pay you? I know for me, my first job was K. Rogers. We call it K. Rogers, which is short for Kroger's. My first job was Kroger's. And at Kroger's, they paid me $6.35 an hour. That's how much I made when I first got into the workforce. $6.35 an hour. That was about $250 a week. $250 a week. Now I spend over that every single day. But that's not the point is. The point is, whatever that number you came up with, would you go back and work? Would you work for that number right now? All I can tell you is I would never work for $6.35 an hour ever again in my life. And I'm asking you, would you work for that money that your first job paid you? Why not? Because what? You know more. If you know what you know, let me prove it. If you know what you know now, would you go back and work that same job for that same amount of money that they paid you at that time? No. It's the know-how. You have way more information. Your brain could see much more. Your brain couldn't see more than 635 then. But now your brain can see more than 635. Why? Because you acquired skills or assets along the way that will never allow you to work for that ever again. Right? It was new information that got you to where you are. That same information that you had when you were making what you were making at your first job, that information that you had in your mind or in your brain got you to where you were then. And the current information that you currently hold in your brain has got you to where you currently are. Your best way of thinking has got you to where you currently are. So if you want to go to another level, then you have to get new information. Because you cannot think you're going to reach the next level with the same exact information that you have. I mean, you can't think that you're going to reach the next level with the same information that you have that has gotten you to this level. No, it's going to take some new information. You need new information to change your reality so that your brain could begin to see something different. See, I know poor people see money as scarce, right? I know poor people see money as just a means to pay bills, almost like they're a middleman for the people who they work for and the people that they owe money to. They're just a middleman. They just transfer. It goes from one hand to the other. They just the middleman and hand it off. This is how poor people see money. And middle class, they see money just a tad bit different. They see money as a means to buy material things. They see money as a means to buy things when they want things, right? Most of the middle class, they can buy whatever they want. I mean, they can buy it on credit. I mean, they can get almost anything they want. But they see money as a means to buy things. That's how their brain sees money, right? But rich people, we see money. Our brains see money as a means to create more money. We see money as a seed that needs to go be planted in the ground to produce more seeds. We see money as something that is pregnant. We see money abundant. Poor people see money, their brains see money as scarce. That's why they think that if all the rich people got all the money, that there ain't none out there for them. They think that by my success or your success or anybody's success that is rich is taking money out of their pocket when there's an abundance of money. There's so much money in the world. You just got to figure out how to go get it out of other people's pockets. But there's an abundance of money. But you can't see there's abundance of money because your brain won't allow you to see that. Because you've been programmed to see exactly what you're currently seeing right now. Because if you could see that money was abundant, you wouldn't have a scarce mentality. And if you wouldn't have a scarce mentality, you'll be able to go get more of it. Because you will understand that there's more than enough for everyone. It's new information. New information helps the brain see something different. You need new information. What if you started listening to things to get new information so you can see things different? Listen to those podcasts. Listen to those tapes. Listen to the people who are at where you want to be. Be mentored by them like a long distance relationship. They don't know you've been mentored by them, but they're mentoring you because you follow, you watch, you study everything they do. You need to go listen to them so you can see something different. What about reading things? Reading things helps you to see things different. When you start reading things, your mind, your awareness start to expand. See, the only difference between the person you want to be and the person you are is literally the know-how. It's literally the know-how. You just don't have the knowledge of how to get there yet. Like you had the knowledge of how to get you to where you've currently got you. Like the only reason why you haven't made $1 million yet is because you just don't know how. Let me say it again. The only reason why you haven't made $1 million yet It's because you just don't know how. If you knew how, then it would change your whole situation to where you currently are, and you wouldn't settle for what you currently make. Because, like, again, you wouldn't go back and work for what you worked for when you first started out, because you know too much now. That's why you got to start listening so that you can begin to see different. Reading things. I read 20 to probably 30 books a year. Why? Because I want to expand my awareness. I understand the more that I learn, the more I understand the stuff I don't know. The more I learn, the more I understand, the more I don't know. Let me say it again. The more I learn, the more I understand how much it is that I don't know. I'm a student of life and always going to remain a student in life. You got to start not only just reading and listening, but also hanging around things that might cause you to see different. If you want to be a millionaire, go hang out where millionaires are. Go see what their life is like. See how they live their lifestyle. When you go hang around, I know when I first started hanging around millionaires, I was so impressed by how little they worked. And I'm like, dang, man, we work so hard. And then I began to understand the people who make the least works the hardest. It's not that millionaires don't work hard. They just don't work hard. Like people who are beating nails and hammers on top of a roof. They don't work hard like people shoveling snow out of sewers. They don't work hard for the money. They actually play a game for it. But that's a whole nother topic. But once you get around these people and once you get around these environments and you start listening to this book and you start listening to all this stuff, it gives you the ability to start forming different pictures in your head. See, once you do this, the brain will be able to see something different. You will now be able to form the pictures you need or the images you need in your mind to begin to shape your future. If you're hanging around people doing extraordinary things, it makes you want to do extraordinary things because you don't want to be left behind. You don't want to be the outcast in your circle, right? So then you'll start seeing different. You'll be able to see your future with a more clear picture. You understand, like, man, these people, look, this guy employs 10,000 people and he loves it. That this guy employs 10,000 people and he loves it because he's able to help 10,000 people put food on their table. And then all of a sudden you start thinking about, oh, I want to serve 10,000 people. And now you see yourself, your brain starts to see yourself serving 10,000 people. That means, so now you start seeing yourself wanting to employ 10,000 people, right? You begin to start seeing things like this. Your brain because you listen to it, you hang around it, you read about it, you talk about it. And so your brain starts to see these images, these pictures in your mind. Do you see, like, literally, you'll begin to see yourself as the person that gets your family, that changes your family status. You'll begin to see yourself as someone that creates the next generation of millionaires in your family. Because when the brain begins to see like this, it begins to see the future. And the future is what shapes the present. Remember how your brain works. Whatever your brain sees is what it reacts, is how it will react or behave. How your brain sees you in the future is how it will react or behave in your present. If your brain begins to see you as being great, you'll begin to do those things. It will begin to push you to do the things necessary to become and stay great. Have you ever heard the saying, you become what you already are, because you don't become nothing you're not in your mind first. If your brain doesn't see you or interpret you as the person that you want to be, you would never become that person, no matter how much physically you want to become that person. Your brain has to see it first. If your brain does not see you worthy, if your brain doesn't see you worthy first, you're never going to be worthy. It's never going to make you work in order to be worthy. If you can't see a picture of the person you desire to become in the future, you cannot begin to become that person in the present. It's time you bring the future to you. Well, that's all I have to say. I hope that you have learned that small piece I was talking about, shifting the brain, is in what you see. You got to make sure your brain is seeing what you want to become, so your brain shapes you into becoming exactly that. That's how you bring the spiritual into the physical. That's how you manifest. You manifest by first seeing it in here. You never become anything out here until it's first established in here. Well, again, that's all I have to say for you. That's all I have for you today. And the goal, as always, is to learn at a rapid pace so that you can become a strategic playing player in this game called life. I'm out.